Hello, everyone, and welcome to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. In this episode, it's going to be an interesting conversation. You see, in this episode, I interview a mom of a 13-year-old daughter, and we discuss the technology issues that the family's going through right now. Now, I know what you're thinking. COVID is harder than ever, and it's just more screen time, and I understand, and it is a time to be flexible. However, it's also a time to really realize that predators would love to chat with your kids even more right now, because perhaps you're giving them a little bit more screen time. Maybe you're giving them access to a Chromebook in their bedroom when you're not there. Maybe they're 11, 12, 13, maybe they're even 14, but you need to know that any time you're giving them access to a lot of people, and it's untethered access, meaning they get to do what they want and you're not monitoring it, it's a recipe for danger. And today you're going to hear from a mom of a 13-year-old on how that is going downhill. Now, just a little precursor. I've hidden the identity of this mom and the daughter, and I've gotten their permission to share this interview. But I want you to know we're only sharing this interview because we want other parents to fully understand that people are going through this as well. We get a lot of calls like this. And while we are not licensed therapists, psychologists, counselors, we are technology people. And we're here to remind you that we want to share with you the things you already know and give you a little bit of direction on how to go to the professionals, how to talk with the school, how to learn more about protecting your kids. Now, if you want to learn more about one of the videos that we recommend, you can click the links below. If you've enjoyed this, please rate, subscribe, and review. I really appreciate you helping me reach more parents as we try and keep kids safe on social media so they can someday shine online. Smartsocial.com is a resource for you. If you ever want to email me personally, you can email josh@smartsocial.com. If you're going through something that is a struggle or you need advice, we'd love to help you, especially on the technology and social media front. I'm really thankful for this mom who gave us the opportunity to chat with her, to share this dialogue, and to make sure that we can get her daughter on the right track. If you want to be on our podcast as a guest with either positive news or a struggle you're going through, we would love to share it with other parents, because you're listening to this now and there'll be one mom, one dad who gets a lot of value out of this. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. So give me some backstory on what's going on, and don't hold anything back because I'd love to be of service.
Well, my daughter's 13, and I think for the last 2 years, when technology started to become part of our lives, things kind of started to go downhill. But I also believe that she is predispositioned to, because of circumstances in our lives, to depression and anxiety, and then other trauma stuff, which I think is a predisposition to seeking out people online because she doesn't feel connected to people, like real people. And then when COVID hit, Josh, that's when major decline. We had a lot of loss even up to COVID, and then that kind of, schools changed. I mean, it was just like bam, bam, bam. And so when COVID hit and they were doing distance learning, she's really a good student, and I thought she was doing her work, and I was working from home, and unbeknownst to me, she was on Discord and Snapchat and talking to complete strangers, and I watched her decline into suicidal ideation, extreme. Like I almost feel like I almost lost her. Like I couldn't connect with her at all. It's almost like her brain completely changed. And being in this pandemic situation and not being able to get any help or support, like she didn't have anything to do with me. I mean, we're both reacting out of like trauma, right? She has hers, I have mine. And I understand the dynamic because my master's is in therapy. I've worked in this field. I haven't in the last 13 years, but I have the mindset to be able to understand what's happening with her as far as like trauma and all that. But it started to get aggressive physically, verbally. And that's when I, am reacting. And so I would say it just became a big mess. And a lot of the escalation came with me trying to take the Chromebook away or the iPad away, trying to set some limits, some boundaries. And then my brain, I had so much going on that I was trying so hard to figure out how do I protect her? How do I instill something on her Chromebook or on her iPad to protect her? And I would start looking into things, and then I would hear, no, this one doesn't work, and then try this. And everything was going over my head. And all I was doing was putting out fires. And then I just kind of froze. And when I say froze, I mean froze. Like all I could do was survive and just like work and take care of necessities. And I felt like I was taking away her connections, but things started to get, I feel like, in a danger zone because now she's talking to men and she's 13 and she doesn't realize that they, some of them thankfully turned out to be kids because I contacted them, but I know some of them weren't. And she's, even with YouTube, she's watching YouTube and she's writing this man a letter on YouTube and wanting to connect with him. And so I feel very lost. I feel like I've lost her. I feel like she's brainwashed and I don't know what to do. It's out of my expertise. So
Well, I'm honored that you'd reach out to somebody. Let me ask you this. Let's come up with a couple solutions together. My job is to just open up what you already know, what you already know deep down inside. And my job is to be your friend and your partner and give you some ideas and technology suggestions. And one of the first suggestions is, have you considered just taking the phone and the laptop and the Chromebook away?
yes, I have a smartphone. She has a Gab phone. So she doesn't have that access, which she hates, and she's going to be 14 and she wants that smartphone. So she doesn't have that. When I try to take the Chromebook away, it has escalated to physical. So I don't know how. And then she needs it for school. So that's the hard part.
So she needs it for school. Have you talked to the school about this?
No.
Here's a couple crazy ideas. I'm going to throw these out there. You don't have to do them if you don't want to, but I'm here to paint a picture of options. Number one, I would tell the school what's going on because they also have licensed counselors, therapists, professionals who are dealing with this, and they have an eye on the Chromebook. Number two, you can tell the school, hey, listen, I want my daughter to do less on the Chromebook. I want her to keep up and do things, but how about we adjust this? Because we have some things to work through, right? And don't be ashamed of this. There's probably a dozen other families that are going through something similar to this. This is a normal thing. It happens in every school around the country, whether you're divorced, single mom, married, it doesn't matter. It happens all over the country. It's happening right now. I get these calls all the time. So what I would like you to do is consider talking with the school to partner with them as well, because the Chromebook seems like it's a big part of the problem. And second, how do we get the Chromebook in any form of addiction? And there are addiction specialists, there are licensed professionals that are amazing. I have a lot of them on our podcast. But in any form of addiction, they will often say that there's different approaches to stopping that addiction, whether it's cold turkey, the phrase that we've all heard, whether it's all kinds of different things. But what I want to present to you is, I want to remind you, you're still the parent, you're still in charge. And I know right now it's a difficult time with COVID. Oh, it's so difficult. And what these predators would love for you to do, and I'm going to call them predators, I'm going to call them for what they are. What these predators would love to do is for you to not have a relationship with your daughter and to not care about who she's talking with. And for other parents out there, they often don't know. They just go, oh, I haven't heard anything wrong. But you know, and you're seeing what's going on. So you have an eyeball, you have a couple of your eyes on the conversation she's already having, which is good. So you get kudos. But I also want you to remember you have the total power. Now let's go over to an analogy. If you were to buy your daughter in 3 years when she's 16, if you were to buy her a car, do you think that you would have the right, would you keep an extra set of keys to that car? Yeah. And would you feel like it's okay to then randomly check the trunk to make sure one of her friends didn't put something illegal back there or she's not carrying something illegal? Would that be something you think is fair?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's probably because you know that we all know that a car that she's driving, if she's driving it at weird hours, going to weird places, hanging out with weird people, And if she's not paying attention of where she's going with it, she could kill another family or hurt herself badly, which would change the trajectory of not only your baby, but another family's baby. And at the very least, it could change anything else. You could lose the vehicle, you could all these stuff. So I want to remind you that any device you give your child is like a car. It can hurt your baby. It can hurt the babies of other families if you're not careful. And through bullying, through access to predators, through all kinds of other stuff that students can do together. So I want to remind you, you still have that power. And I want to make sure you know that as your friend here, your partner, you have, and you may not think that you do, but there are people out there that want to help you. And the school is number one. You got to have a conversation with the school, go in there. They're going to give you customized help. The Chromebook, if we can remove that 100%, that'd probably be better. In my rough opinion, as an outsider, as your friend, it sounds like you're saying that the Chromebook gives her access to Discord. And maybe there's a way to close discord.com down. And as you know, Discord is a terrible, terrible website. It's a terrible app that was designed in the beginning to be a wraparound, a chat bot on the side of Fortnite and all these other gaming apps, Discord, to be chatting live with people via voice and text. And now it has turned into its own behemoth of a social network that has a tremendous amount of anonymous predators that act like they're 13 and 14-year-old boys who are not. And I don't want to scare you. I think you already know this, but I want to just remind you that if she keeps getting on there, then she doesn't know what's best for her. And I'm just reminding you that
she's not on that anymore, but she goes, on YouTube and watches videos, and she was on Twitter. And even through Twitter, I didn't realize people were, you can chat, and there was somebody chatting with her, or Instagram. No matter what the forum is, there's still an ability to chat with strange people.
Yeah, absolutely. Bark has a great, and I don't want to say great, Bark has a shocking, Bark is an app. I think it's bark.us, and they have a great team of people that do great stuff. I don't own any of their company. I don't work for them, but I think they're great people. They have an amazing documentary that talks about how one of their heads of technology, whatever she does, I don't know, she posed as an 11-year-old girl. And immediately, did you see that?
Yeah, within seconds. Yeah. It was on Netflix or something. We're trying to think. I know what you're talking about. Was it? And they were talking to the kids, the panel of kids, the girls and the boys, and asking them questions about their experiences online. They had that on there too.
Perhaps, but this woman was 38 years old, and they photoshopped her to make her look like she was 11. And she had hundreds of men saying, send me, and maybe not hundreds, but send me inappropriate photos, and they would groom her, and they'd be really nice. Somehow I need to communicate to your kid, A, mom is in charge. B, the device is going to get taken away if you do anything that mom doesn't want you to do. And that might mean creating a cell phone and social media online agreement. We have one for you. If you want it, I'll give it to you for free. It's a 2-page agreement that if you go anywhere online, the thing's going to be taken away. I think starting point number one is to talk with your school. I really do.
So I pulled her this year, and we actually homeschool Josh, but she goes to a campus for classes, even though it's homeschool. So the only one that she uses the Chromebook now for is Spanish. And then she writes her papers online, because you have to submit everything online. So that's that issue.
Can you shut down your Wi-Fi?
And that's really weird. That was one of my questions. Through my AT&T app, I'm able to shut down screen time, a different device, and yet she's still able to access it. And I cannot figure out, how is she accessing it if I shut the Wi-Fi down?
Okay, here's a couple other ideas. That Chromebook lives in your bedroom until she's allowed to do her Spanish homework, and it is in a public room, and you can see over her shoulder at any time. And she signs an agreement, understanding that if she goes on Discord, Twitter, or anything, or she's chatting with anyone elsewhere other than someone she knows from school or a family member, then the device is taken away completely. There's got to be another solution, but you get the idea, is that a foot should be put down right now, in my opinion. As your friend, I'm just giving you empathy, and I know it's hard right now. I feel for you. Our recommendation from smartsocial.com from a technology perspective would be, if it's causing this much trouble, that device needs to be removed as immediately, as quickly as possible. Maybe everything in Spanish should be written out by hand and made more difficult. So then she has to put it in. Maybe she'll learn Spanish better if she writes it out by hand and then submits the essay reading it by hand, and she only gets it 1 hour a day, and she won't have time for Twitter, Discord, everything else. And you're in the room and you're watching and you can look over, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I feel like we're at this next level of like where there's a lack of connection between her and I. So when I lay down, let's say I was to lay down that rule or whatever, it's like, no, like we're not even at that place where I have any authority.
Is there an aunt, an uncle, somebody who's cool that can work with her?
No, that's where I'm struggling right now. Like my parents are, they're older, and so we can't even see them because of the pandemic. My sister's in New York, and my brother's not helpful. So he does the opposite of what I ask him to do. So that's not an option. That's why I was curious if you knew or you did any like education to where it's coming from someone else, where they can see and be educated on the reality of potential dangers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Would you consider watching the Bark documentary with your daughter?
Yeah.
I think that's a start because it's an amazing documentary.
Remember what it's called? Is it the something 2? Is there a number 2 in it or something?
I will send it to you. I will find it, and it's very easy to find. I Googled Bark documentary, social media dangers exposed by a mom posing as an 11-year-old. And I'll give you this link. All I did was Google Bark documentary. It has 17 million views. A 37-year-old mom goes undercover as an 11-year-old girl to expose the dangers facing kids on social media. So I'll give this to you. It's 9 minutes long. I know you don't have much power, but you do have more power than you think in my mind. And I feel for you. I'm here for you. We're your technology friends, but at the same time, if it's going down a road that doesn't end well, these men will want to meet up with her. And I don't want to sound scary, but if we could save one more life and talk about how the depression, so there's comparison, which is a big deal that creates, there's 3 words that I have that are important: stress, anxiety, depression, SAD, sad. And sad is the stress comes from all kinds of things they see online or somebody exploiting them. The anxiety comes from scrolling, doom scrolling, which is I'm going to look for something else. I'm trying to get that feedback of that addiction. So stress, anxiety, and depression, and it really leads to something very similar where they're online so much they don't feel complete. They're not able to spend time with their own thoughts. They don't have in-person relationships. It's terrible. So all 3 of those, the way to usually combat those, take away the tech as quick as possible, get your child back. I have moms that had a child on Fortnite, and they quickly removed Fortnite and they got their little boy back. And they've been in my chat box, they've been in my webinars, and they said, we got our son back. It just took a while to get him back, but he just would not pay attention. And this is a normal thing. And I'm begging you, keep up what you're doing, continue to try and somehow get that technology away. Talk to the Spanish teacher or whatever and say, hey, we're going to submit stuff we're going to do this. Because the families that get out of this, they go old school and they take over and they say, you know what, Spanish teacher, we're going to submit this via mail and I'm going to work with you because your daughter's condition is not going to fix itself. And it sounds like it's a little bit out of your hands right now. So you're going to have to take drastic measures, in my opinion. And it might mean seeing a psychologist, therapist, counselor, and having a one-on-one conversation with that person. And in fact, I think that might be your next step, but also getting rid of this tech as quickly as possible.
So what are your recommendations as far as like if you can't drastically take it away, let's say by educating them, or is this a possibility to teach them the right way or have limitations in place? Like do those circle bark, do they even work?
Go back to your first question of teaching her the right way.
I don't know, because you hear other people's philosophies and, they have said, like, I try to seek out experts, and it's like, teach them young, teach them how to navigate things when they're 11, 12, 13, so that they know how to do it the right way.
Yeah, but you have to teach them before they get it. If they're on it right now and she refuses and she won't give it back and she continually goes around you, it's the predators against you. Do you continue to allow her to talk with the 7 billion people in the world using that Chromebook? And then she'll move them over to the phone that you have, the smartphone, which is not really much of a smartphone. It's the Gab wireless phone, which is a great phone, but she'll move them over to text and she'll start texting them from there. And she'll want to meet up with them. And so if there's a way to take the phone away and have more people hang out with your family, maybe play dates that are outside, something real, other students and people that you can work with to get the human connection back rather than the digital connection, and get her forgetting about that. Replace it. Don't just take it away. Replace it with something more meaningful.
So right now you don't have anything where you speak to like middle schoolers?
I do. We have something in our program where we give a whole program about how to use social media someday in a positive way. We absolutely do. But I think you're at the point where it's going to need to be a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist of some sort, because we can't aid in this realm. It sounds like it's going down a hill that needs to be adjusted a little bit. The Social Media Dangers Bark documentary is something you should watch again. It's 9 minutes, 31 seconds long. It's powerful if you haven't already seen it. I'm not sure that there were other students in it. I'm not sure. There was something on Netflix that was different. The Netflix one was different. The Bark one is different than that. Bark is about predators. Netflix is about screen time. I would do that, and I would talk to the school about taking it away. And can we submit stuff via old school? And I would immediately get her off that, because it doesn't end well. She doesn't self-correct. And this is my opinion from one of the leading technology people in the country. This doesn't end well. And I want you to get as much help as you can. That's why we got on the phone with you here today, to just steer you in the school's direction, a psychologist, therapist direction, minimizing the technology somehow, drastically minimizing it, getting around more good families and friends. I know you can't see grandma and grandpa right now, but getting around other young kids that she can play with and hang out and go outside, that's going to fulfill her. Some exercise, right? We've had medical doctors on our podcast. Exercise, people, relationships, not random people, and not blue light before bed. And I would lock that Chromebook up if you can.
To put it in, but I haven't been able to utilize it yet because it escalates. So, but
yeah, it's gonna have to. Yeah, something's gonna have to happen, and it might have to happen with. Yeah.
Okay. Out of the Bark and the Circle and all that, did you recommended any of those for filtering?
Bark's going to not work on the Chromebook, I think. The Circle is a neat device because you can shut down certain devices and control them. And the Chromebook doesn't have a 3G network or 4G network or LTE. It just uses Wi-Fi. Try on your AT&T. Maybe you have the wrong device. Maybe you don't have to buy one. Maybe you go to Google and Google AT&T router and find out you're locking down the wrong device. Maybe she's still online with another thing. Or maybe there's a neighbor's house next door. She figured out how to get on their Wi-Fi.
So Circle, can you block YouTube?
No, you can't. You can't block specific content sometimes. You might be able to. I'll have to look at it again. But it's really about time. I'm going to write this down, and we're going to figure because Chromebooks are a problem.
Well, and that's a different device eventually, and not. It's an old Chromebook too. Like,
did you buy it for her or did the school?
No, my friend got it, but it's like really old.
So it's yours. It's essentially yours because you own it. I'd take it away. And I there might be a way to Chromebook privacy. And I don't know. I think you're in a troubling. I feel for you. I don't know how to say it but I feel like that's going to have to get taken away. No matter how outlandish she is, I would go see a professional if you can, who's on a psychology therapy route, and try and work in that realm. But the technology is causing harm.
And like an Apple, is it better to have like a MacBook than a Chromebook? Is it easier to control one or the other?
I don't have that answer on a MacBook because as soon as you go onto a laptop, it's very different than a phone. We are the experts on phones. But as soon as you open up a laptop, it's a whole new world. It's an adult device. So I think you're looking for the pill to fix things, like the one pill, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm being honest because I'm going to be blunt. You're looking for the pill, but I think the pill is going to be hard work of removing that device, in my professional opinion, of it with technology.
No, I appreciate it, Josh. I'm just trying to figure out, like, even still, I still want to put some sort of safety net around it, you know. And I don't know if Chromebook is a good thing or not.
I don't think a Chromebook's a good thing. I don't think a 13-year-old having full access to a Chromebook is a good thing. It sounds like she's already using it in a bad way. I'm going to repeat it one more time. You got to take that device away.
Okay. All right.
You got to monitor the text messages that are in her Gab wireless phone. She might already be texting older men and not know they're older men.
I do look at it, and I look at her iPad. Now, she does have her own iCloud account, which she can text with her own account. And I'm wondering if that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd lock it down and take it away. And then you'll find out real quick if you're going to get your daughter back. Yeah, it'll take 3 weeks, and she'll hate you and she'll love you in the long run for it.
Hopefully. Yeah, she was a little tough before that too. I got a strong-willed one, but you know, it's okay. I love her enough to do what it takes. So
yeah,
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hopefully this was helpful. Did you get what you need out of this?
Yeah, I do. I got confirmation of, like, you know, the authority that, you know, I have, which sometimes is hard. And yeah, it's kind of like a detox, which I felt, you know, and just kind of do a little bit more education with her, which I'm looking for. So yeah, I'll look out for you said you do some stuff with middle schoolers. I'll kind of be on the lookout for that.
I'll email you some more information and resources.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're amazing. Keep up the great work.
All right. You take care.
Bye-bye.